Demon Souls.
Yes.
No, wait. Demon Souls.
That's the one.
Wait. Demon Souls. That's it?
Red hot demon soul.
At the Nexus, we meet the original level up lady, chat with the locals, and explore. Just one of the Archstones activates, the Archstone of the Small King, so we can travel to our first level, the Boletarian Palace. We arrive to an introductory cutscene for a red dragon that menaces us throughout this world. Most of the levels in this game are fairly linear, but this first one is more of a loop with shortcuts. There's immediately a 2-on-1 fight followed by some crowd control up the front steps. Here begins the series tradition of shut front gates shunting us to one side. Past a courtyard with an archer and a deadly pit, there are a couple ambush rooms before we enter the walls themselves to make a climb to the battlements. The soldiers are better equipped in this area, and some throw firebombs around explosive barrels. The real star is the iron ball and the final staircase that we need to coax down safely. At the top, we can descend the tower ahead to unlock our first shortcut from the Archstone. In the other direction, at the far end of the wall, is a foreboding red-eye knight, guarding what turns out to be a mausoleum. Probably best to save that for later. Instead, we get good enough to slay a blue-eye knight and find a covered walkway below with more explosives. There's a merchant halfway across, followed by a trip to a lower courtyard with heavier resistance. Before the merchant, we can choose to hop the railing to help a guy named Ostrava survive below. Across the way, we climb to the palace's far wall and get a chance to use a barrel trap to our advantage if we can spot it. Then we double back to the main bridge, crossing the central plaza. A dragon is on patrol there, but its nest is at the far end of the walk, and we can exploit this a bit by waiting till he heads back there and quickly crossing the bridge before he returns. There's also a blue dragon at the nest. Neither dragon can be killed at this point, but they can be driven off with enough damage. Across the bridge, we can pull a lever to open the big front gate, explore down the other gate tower, and open another shortcut to the entrance to confront the first demon, Phalanx, the covetous king. Maybe you also noticed this little lawn off the starting bridge. This is related to the game's somewhat beloved world tendency system. I don't want to get too hung up on the gameplay mechanics, but suffice it to say there's a spectrum for each world from pure white to pure black. Killing bosses and other good-coded things moves the dial towards white, easier, while murdering and dying in body form moves towards black, harder, generally. So this area is the simplest example of a gate that's normally closed. At strong white tendency it opens and you can fight Executioner Meralda, while at strong black tendency it opens and you can fight her powered up black and red phantom form instead. The dragons also vacate at strong white tendency, making it easier to raid their nest. We'll discuss a few other white tendency things a bit more near the end. Back at the Nexus, we return victorious and the lady tells us to meet the monumental up above. Not the easiest spot to find, but they're up a bunch of steps out on a walkway. There, we get a cutscene explaining that there were 6 Archstones and we need to slay the demons associated with them. Now, all 5 Archstones become accessible. The northern lands of the Giants one remains broken forever, sadly. For now, our goal is to slay the major demons in all 5 worlds, which will be composed of 3 levels each, or really 2 levels and a boss arena. The worlds can be done in any order, but for continuity, let's return to Boletaria first. At the start of this area is a room with some residual hoplites and another encounter with Ostrava, who asks for help again. Then, up to the road. Here, the linearity begins. This is almost a gimmick level, with 3 long wall segments to navigate patrolled by the same red dragon as before. It's generally a game of waiting until he makes a pass and following close behind to survive. There are some alternative strategies. First and most obviously, there is a lower level to the road running underground. We need to reach the first guard station, but from there we can head downstairs and avoid the dragon for the middle portion until we hit a merchant in a dead end. Not necessarily easier, in my opinion, due to the enemy placement below, but it's an option. We can also take the low road back toward the starting point and help Ostrava a second time by escorting him down the tunnel. The other strategy is a little contrived. We can save up some souls, buy a bunch of arrows from the merchants we met earlier, and post up on the first guard tower, plinking the dragon until it dies. No Drake Sword this time, but it does permanently remove the dragon's threat from this level and the previous. At the far end of the bridge, there's a 3-level guardhouse and a fight against a tower knight. Afterwards, we encounter a particularly thick fog and we can't proceed for now. That means it's time to check out the other worlds. The levels in each world have a bit of a difficulty curve, but it is feasible to finish all 3 levels in some of them without visiting any others. That's how I'll summarize them here, but bear in mind, you will find it easier and more lucrative to do the generally recommended first level of each world first, then the second level of each, and so on. The Archstone of the Burrow King leads to the Stonefang mining operations built into a cliff. We need to get to the mine first. There's a merchant right behind us, and miners are raining boulders onto the path ahead from a balcony. If we can get past, we can activate this lift to take us up for revenge. Otherwise, we can find an open courtyard ahead. Through a gaggle of pickaxes, we enter another structure and navigate a very narrow set of hallways and staircases to a wooden scaffold above. From the upper levels, there's a locked gate at the end of a stone path and a platform across a wooden bridge that'll mostly collapse when we cross. We want to fall anyway to make our way around to the far raised floor where a lever opens the exit gate, but we'll have to do another lap to get back up there. This next area is situated around a big smelting pool with some attendant salamanders. Up the first tier, there's a road to the left that emerges back at the starting cliffside, high above the path. We can pull an important lever nearby to restart the lift that not only creates a merciful shortcut from the start, but also grants access to Blacksmith Ed further below who can upgrade our equipment. Otherwise, we head through the fog door, down the second tier, and over onto the scaffolding. This next portion involves navigating the area immediately around the smelting column until we get to the upper level, circling around and descending near the water wheel, and pulling another lever to flood the outer lava pit so we can cross. From there, we have a straightforward path to the armor spider boss at the end of the tunnel below. Now we're into the mines. This is the only level in the game that has two distinct routes to the end. They are reachable via the left and right forks of this first split, but the right path's open mineshaft is a bit intimidating to the uninitiated, so we'll look left first. Watch out for exploding minecarts. We continue onto a towering cavern bluff. There are some platforms to drop down to a series of dirt ramps, and midway through is a tunnel we can follow to the bottom of the elevator shaft. Ahead there's also a crystal lizard nest. You might have noticed these critters near the start of the first level. They drop upgrade materials, but they'll only appear a finite number of times, so if you can't finish them fast, you lose your opportunity. We also have a chance to get tricked by patches for the first time out here. Further down the slopes is another tunnel entrance, and this one to the main tunnel city. These tiny passages are blocked by bear bugs, who aren't super threatening, but they're a pain to clear out. There are some goodies to find and another segment on a lava shore, but ultimately we want to arrive near the bottom of a big mine shaft where ladders will take us to the ground. Now, as you can tell from this drawing, that right path from the start of the level is the other end of this shaft. If we're brave enough to handle several careful drops down scant wooden scaffolding, we can arrive straight here mere minutes after departure. At the bottom of the ladders is a large final cavern. In the underground bone temple ahead waits the Flame Lurker, one of a handful of bosses in this game that's mostly a skill check with no gimmicks. The good news is, the final level of each world is pretty much just the major demon boss encounter, and no run back to speak of. In this case, we meet the dragon god from the prologue once more in his massive shrine. This time we have to avoid its gaze while we operate two magical crossbow things on either side to pin it and let us approach the head for the final blow. The Archstone of the Tower Queen is next. This level is repetitive and potentially confusing, with 4.5 floors that have a similar layout and like 70 individual cells that may or may not be locked with one of several keys, but in practice it's manageable, spooky mind flayer wardens aside. We start on the third floor, and since the stairwell is locked, we need to go around the walkways. There's one key to find for the third floor cells and another for the third floor hallway doors, a pattern that repeats for the other floors. With the latter, we can open the lock from before, enter the fog door, and explore floor 4. Here we can head around through these broken walls to find our keys, then open the gates to the east side. There's a singing merchant in the first cell and a stairwell back down. The formerly inaccessible bit of 3F has a cell with a magic teacher named Sage Frake, but it's locked with a special key. Below is sort of the 2.5th floor, that is also mostly locked, but we can get our first floor keys and continue down to 2F proper. Thanks to a pile of rubble, there isn't much to see here yet, but down on 1F, we can get outside the prison. The big bridge is well guarded with a crossbow effigy, but the warden's key near it will unlock those doors on the 2.5th floor. This provides an alternative route outside to disable the big guard and head to the boss arena. However, we'll want to explore up a tower and down the wall balcony first. Not only is there a special key to free Frake on 3F, but there's also a special NPC who will continually heal the boss unless we kill him here first. So, think about it. The Fool's Idol waits in the church ahead, and afterwards we ascend to Upper Latria. After the claustrophobic prison, this is open-air despair. There are torches and chains and an ominous, omnipresent heartbeat. The darkness can make it hard to quickly determine where paths continue, plus the gargoyles. The heartbeat loudens as we approach the central tower until we can actually see the colossal heart itself. In fact, we can round the spiral stairs a bit until the heart's various growths block the path to the top. But there is a chance to make this no problem, featuring 2 chains. If we can find and break both, the suspended heart drops and the route ahead is cleared. The first chain's at the top of this dark tower, ascendable via an elevator. Kill the chain tenders and it disconnects. Further along, there's an off-putting man in a small cell who asks us to free him. I'll let you decide whether to trust old Yurt. His cage can lure us to the blood swamp far below. Further along, there's an off-putting man centipede hell, but there are several goodies down here, and amazingly the swamp water isn't poisonous. Once ready, we can make our way to the far shore and enter the base of the Heart Tower. After more stairs, we run in the shadows to a second tower and break the chain to finish the job. We can use a drop off the broken bridge to return near the level start, and now we can get all the way to the top to fight the Man-Eater. Zzz. Once again, we have only the final boss fight left, against the King in Yellow. This guy's twist is that if you're online, an invader can take control of the boss during the fight. If you're offline, he's a pretty manageable claw phantom dude. The Archstone of the Shadowman takes us to a stormy island on the sea, and for my money it's the toughest level combat-wise thanks to the rolling skeletons. We fight our way up the stairs and under archers into a courtyard where the vanguard from the prologue once again awaits. This time around we can take them out pretty easily with ranged battle, but we can also just circumnavigate. To the left of the gatehouse are a few halls inside the walls, watch for pressure plate traps, and up the tower stairs across the gate we can find a copper key in the other tower. Further on, through a broken wall, is a tree with Sparkly the Crow, who offers a clumsy mechanism for trading items. Below, past the game's first invisible doors, is a prison cell with a grave robber merchant who our copper key can free. And through another invisible door, we ascend a pile of rubble to see Vanguard once more. We want to make our way around the cliff, but the road has collapsed, so we need to go up and through the ruins, wary of more traps. The cliff path is well guarded with a fog door at the end and one last confrontation with the dual-wielding skeleton before we meet the final boss, Adjudicator. The ritual path is a sharp contrast to the open spaces of the island surface. We head into the big crypt and encounter the enemy/obstacle gimmick of this level, Grim Reapers who summon tall shadow guys that block paths and fire Kamehameha beams with their face. Behind the altar below we have a chance to get tricked by Patches again and rescue Saint Urbane from black phantoms. To advance, we simply exit from the lower front door of the crypt and navigate more cliff paths to another entrance. We now descend 2 lengthy stretches of stairs and paths guarded by more shadows, first counterclockwise and then clockwise. It's an intimidating trip, but not a lot of places to get lost. At the bottom is a strange cavern filled with some sort of energy sprites and glowing slugs, and at the far end we enter a long hall to fight the blind old hero boss. Beyond is a vast rock outcropping over the sea, embedded with large monoliths. The massive Storm King boss approaches high above with a flock of storm beasts. At the far end is one lone monolith on the cliff. The legendary Storm Ruler sword waits uponst. This kind of trivializes the fight, but hey, it looks cool. Finally, the Archstone of the Chieftain leads to a miserable world of sorrow. Yes, Blighttown has a parent. This first level is about zigzagging down the depraved chasm, watching our back and our footing. We climb up out of the starting structure and sojourn out onto the rickety planks. The route can be hard to make out as we head over to a building across the way and descend before crossing back. It's easy to get overwhelmed by all the basic enemies in the next building, especially if we fall through the roof. At the far end, we descend again to another bridge, descend further, and find a giant-sized version of the depraved ones. Across the bridge, past more enemies, is our boss, the Leechmonger. Now we arrive at the proper swamp, and a proper Souls Overlook vista to start us off. This swamp is poisonous, by the way. Here's the basic structure. The swamp is divided into 3 portions, separated by a makeshift fence. There are no gates, but raised wooden walkways along either side of the swamp carry us over. We need to follow the debris across to the far side and use one to clear the first fence, then follow the cliff until we can enter the more constructed quarters of the depraved settlement. Or double back along the other walkway to knock down goodies from the slug nest hanging up high. At the far end of the settlement is another wooden walkway all the way back to the entrance where we can lower a bridge to make this trip much easier in the future. Otherwise, we will soon be in the shadow of the Dirty Colossus. The final portion of the swamp is certainly memorable. The much-beloved demon Maiden Astria sits in the muck at the bottom of a large cavern surrounded by plague babies. She offers no resistance when we approach to kill her, but her bodyguard Garl has other ideas. The real boss fight is with him. Alright, back to Boletaria. This fog dissipates after we kill any of the 4 major demons. Thus, this area's difficulty is a fair bit higher than the previous palace level. It's also slightly strange in that it features several cutscenes dedicated to this fat official as a local antagonist. Past the first courtyard, we dodge flaming balls on the grand staircase until we hit a gate that the same official closes in our face. There's an alley nearby where we drop down to make our way around a small retaining pond and back up to emerge above that grand staircase. From there, the fog door leads across the archway to a little rooftop picnic area. Here we can kill a fat official, not that one, for a ring of iron keys. For the next several tiers, we'll fight our way up heavy resistance to a long battlement walk across the other side of the Grand Avenue, then down a street level at the start of a long ascent. By doubling back, we can open the gate for future expediency, but of course our main goal is to climb the stairs to face the boss. In a rare show of cutscene humor, the game teases the fat official before the penetrator lives up to his namesake, and we fight him instead. Now remaining is the final level, the King's Tower. It sets the tone with a bunch of soldiers surrounding a dead dragon, and also these three interesting black phantoms representing the original human forms of Phalanx, Tower Knight, and Penetrator before they became demons. There's a Red-Eye Knight waiting in the cramped tower leading to the main battlements, and the Blue Dragon posts up at the middle as we arrive. We have little choice but to arrow plank or time a run past its fire breath. Unfortunately, it moves further up the stairs once we go around. It may not look like it, but it's possible to time a sprint past this breath as well. Once we hit the carpeted stairs, there's one more Black Phantom fight between us and the end, Ostrava himself. Up the lift waits Old King Allant. The boss has a soul-sucking grab that'll steal one of your levels permanently, which is pretty brutal. With all 5 major demons dead, the endgame is put in motion. The Nexus floor opens and the maiden won't level us anymore. Speaking with her takes us down into the abyss. Within the Old One's maw is the true form of King Allant. Kill it, and we can get the good ending by leaving, or the bad ending by attacking the maiden. So what did we miss? Well, not so much in this game. First, the world tendency system, which has some interaction with NPC storylines. Strong white tendency. I already mentioned the effects of the palace with Executioner Meralda. In Stonefang, Scurver shows up wanting to find the Dragonbone Smasher weapon, itself now findable in the dragon's lair. In Latria, we can get some items on 2F after the rebel disappears, and free Riddell from his nearby cell with a key that becomes reachable near the first chain tower. Doing so, in turn, opens the gate to 2F's east corridor. In the Shrine of Storms, a guy named Satsuki appears at the start wanting to find the magic sword Makoto, itself now findable in the pit Patches kicks us into. Satsuki isn't as kind as Scurver about it, though. In the Swamp of Sorrow, Selin Vinland appears midway through asking about her brother Garl. After clearing the world, his Black Phantom appears in the Sanctuary and drops a crest that will show her proof. In Strong Black World Tendency, Meralda, Scurver, Riddell, Satsuki, and Selin all appear as Black Phantoms and formidable foes. Each world also spawns a primeval demon, which look a bit weird and pose little threat, but they will reset the world back towards white tendency when killed. They also don't respawn. If we kill enough NPCs, including Yurt, Mephistopheles will appear in the Nexus. In order, she'll ask us to kill Urbane, Frake, Patches, Bjor, Ostrava, and Uria. Our reward is a foe's ring and single combat with Mephistopheles herself. This is probably best done shortly before New Game Plus. You might be wondering who the heck Bjor and Uria are. Unrelated to any tendency, we can claim a hat and an iron keyring off fat officials in the inner ward that unlocks a lower area near the Tower Knight. Here, Bjor can be freed to assist with some boss fights, and we can claim a bloody key off another fat official. This in turn unlocks a gate at the inner ward leading to a distant tower, and if we approach wearing the official's cap, we're granted entry. Then, if we can kill one more fat official, remove our disguise, we can rescue Uria the Witch. Finally, if we help Ostrava or kill him, we get the Mausoleum key. This is used on that far battlement past the Red-Eye Knight you might have avoided midway through the first level. Inside waits Old King Dolan, a strong optional boss who guards the Demon's Bane sword. Seems pretty popular to cheese this guy. And that's that. Thanks for watching.